One of the biggest things that we do underestimate is our own conviction in a moment, right? Our own intuition in a moment. What do you do when something horrible is happening? What does your intuition say? Because that's how you can establish if are you made for this leadership thing or not. I think where things start to take a dip is when we are not able to listen to who we are and what we are supposed to be doing. I think it's okay to be in the moment of what you feel. It's okay, because I think we are so obsessed with being okay that we miss that moment of not being okay.
Welcome to another edition of Mindset Profits. I have a feeling this is going to be an episode that gives someone healing out there, because the story, the lady that I'm bringing today, Siphosethu, has two things. One, an amazing story that she's amazing at telling and teaching. But two, she couldn't sleep because she's so excited about today.
Why are you telling our secrets now?
I'm still stuck on that. Why couldn't you sleep? This is exciting times.
It is exciting.
You're going to teach someone today. Why couldn't you sleep?
I think it's just the spotlight. Yeah, it's the spotlight. So you're like, oh my goodness. You want to do good, but like you're like, okay, I wanted to land, in the most natural way. So I think it's that whole thing around not wanting to disappoint yourself in in whatever it is that you deliver, whether it's a conversation, whether it's whatever it is in your life. So this is part of those things that I'm like, okay, I wanted to land in the most natural but perfect way.
We'll get there. We'll get there. She works for one of the is it Big Four or Big Five?
Big Four.
Big Four auditing firms. So you have had a career in corporate for how many years?
Sure. I think since I started 11 years ago.
So you've always been in corporate?
I've always been in corporate, but I've had an interesting pivot in my career.
We asked you a quote that you like, and you gave us a quote. You said it's from your dad, and it's the last words that your father spoke to you.
For sure.
Let's start there.
All right. Starting with a bang, I see. Dad,
we start strong.
It's in the ground running. No, look, I mean, so I think I gave you a bit of context yesterday, and I don't know if you want me to maybe give a little bit of that story. So my parents had divorced when I was like 10 years old, and I'm going to really try to not say the entire story. My parents had divorced when I was 10.
Yeah.
And then I think we hadn't seen him for a good couple of years until I was in varsity.
Okay.
And then at the time things happened, my mom was trying to make ends meet. She had to travel and go work in Cape Town. So I'm from the Eastern Cape in East London. And then long story short, she was transferred to a hospital in the Eastern Cape, which is Bisho Hospital.
To work there.
And this is now round about December, Jan. That's when the transition happened. So January 2012, my mom works at Bisho. She travels from home to work, which is like 15, 20 kilometers, right? Yeah. Then one day my mom comes back from work and she's like, yo, your dad just got admitted. And I'm like, sure, okay. And it was quite a thing for us because my parents' divorce was quite rocky, and I don't think they had reached a point where they had made peace between the two of them. And, a couple of days later, she was like, listen, we've had a sit down with your dad. He's very ill. And he's actually, for the very first time, apologized for everything that's happened. And he also had one wish, and that was to see you. I was like, ooh, okay, interesting. And I mean, the last time I'd seen him, I was still a little girl. yeah, I mean, if they divorced when I was 10, maybe the last time I saw him was like 13. You know what I mean? Okay, fine. Fast forward. One morning we drive, we go to Bishru, and I meet my dad. And so my dad was very sharp. He was a very intelligent man, very charming, very handsome. And I see him in this condition. And I mean, the first thing that came to my mind and my heart was, my heart sank, you know? And I think for every little girl, your dad is your hero, irrespective of what happens. And I think growing up, you have your own world that you create as a young girl or, a young little girl. But then when life happens and you see what really is happening, but you still have that fairy tale of what you think your parents are or what they should be. So I've always loved my dad, and I think it's just not within me to be a vengeful person. So excited, I go sit next to him in the ward, and he's so excited. He's telling all the patients that this is my
This is my
daughter.
girl.
Do you see how beautiful she is and all of that? And we have this conversation. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was doing my second year at the time, or third year, at Nelson Mandela University in Port Elizabeth. And he was like, "I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to remember it for the rest of your life. And I want you to carry it in your spirit for the rest of your life." And he says to me, "Listen, for everything that I was to you, your mom, and your sisters, I apologize. I had two options in this life: to be a good dad, to be a good husband, or to be a bad dad and a bad husband. And I chose to be a bad dad and a bad husband to your mom. And for
Oh,
that, I truly apologize, right? I'm not going to blame it on any other external factor. I will take the accountability for that. But I need you to ensure that in this life, you are independent. You do not depend on a man for anything. I'm not saying that don't get married, do not have a life partner, but I need you to be so successful in this life that you do not look outside for you to be comfortable and successful. And I need you to be the best version that you can be because I gave birth to you."
oh.
Yeah.
Who was in the room?
Yeah, it was just me and him. My mom gave us space. And yeah, I think 2 days later, my dad died.
How did that feel? The words in that moment. Do you remember?
I don't remember the feeling, but one thing I can tell you is because I was fairly young, and I think, when things are happening and things are greater than the moment,
Yeah.
you in hindsight think about it later on. You're like, this is what this meant, or maybe he manifested this and my life is becoming like this. There is so much success, and maybe he was blessing me in that moment, but those were the words that he chose particularly for that moment without me realizing what he was creating for my life. Because let me tell you, the trajectory of my life since that day has been good. And sometimes I'm just like, I'm probably not even the best in the room, but I will be picked. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I see you, Dad. This is the moment. So I think now that I'm older, I have so much appreciation for that moment.
So when someone might have missed this part, that with the separation, you spent years without meeting him
For
and
sure.
talking to him.
For sure. Like,
And you only you heard that he's in this hospital, which was a miracle to even
literally.
for your mom to be working there.
Literally.
And he gets admitted there, and it's the
In the
place
same
that he's
ward.
going to pass.
Literally. And then even crazier, then he passes away. So my dad came from a very small knit family. He was the only child, and the family members had all passed away. Now, who's going to bury him? Because they're divorced. I mean, a good 7 years had passed, or even more than that. And then my mom says, "I will bury your dad and I'll give him his last dignity on earth." So now we had to go back where his homestead at the farm, and my mom full blown Makoti
Makoti
gear,
now.
and she gave my dad the most dignified funeral. We were there present as the children, and it was a great send off. Then my mom goes back to work. Now this is Feb. So this happened like mid-Jan. Now this is Feb. And then my mom receives a call from headquarters to say, sorry, ma'am, how are you here? Because you are not on our roll call.
You're not supposed to be
You're
working there.
not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be in Cape Town, in the Western Cape. How are you here? My mom's like, what do you mean? You guys signed off my transfer. That is why I've been working here for a good month. Long story short, my mom went back to the Western Cape and only came back to East London maybe like a good 3-5 years later.
She was there for that moment,
Literally.
for you to meet your dad and hear those words.
Literally. And for her to heal. Because God forbid, if he had passed away, I don't know who would have buried him first. So she would have lived with that guilt or whatever feeling
Yeah.
that she would have carried. She would have also lived with the guilt that we actually never parted ways in a good manner. And I think when you've once loved somebody and the father of your children, there's a bond that you'll carry for the rest of your life, because there are these kids that, you know, are made up of the both of you.
Yeah.
So that's a constant reminder. And I think for her, it was like, oh, I can exhale, but I can be at peace right now. And I know that I gave him everything that I could, irrespective of, you know, what had happened before. And she could be an honorable mother to us, because I can now, as a mother of a 4-year-old daughter, be like, you know what, whatever life throws at me, good or bad, at least in that, when my child looks at me, she can say, you know what, my mom will navigate through this, but she can literally be an honorable mother and she will teach me something valuable out of even a bad situation. And that's what I took out of her. I was like, you're such a principled woman. And I honor and love you for that, because it takes a big personality to be like, you know what, it's okay. I'm going to do this for my children.
When you look at her healing and the closure that she got in that moment, what did that teach you? What do you learn from that part?
I think it's okay to be in the moment of what you feel. It's okay, because I think we are so obsessed with being okay that we miss that moment of not being okay. And then later on, it catches up and we bleed in other spaces that we're not supposed to be. So for her to have been angry, valid. I mean, she went through a very tough marriage, valid. But there was a point then she was like, I can exhale and let it go and be at peace.
Do you walk around in corporate at work, just people around you? Do you see people who haven't healed, who are bleeding on others?
Absolutely.
And when you do, what do you do?
You know, that's such an interesting question, because so I used to be chief of staff for another audit firm, the Green Dot. And, you know, it was such an interesting thing, because they used to call me what do they say? I'll say Mama Bear. I
Yeah.
forgot the other term. And what that literally meant was people would navigate toward me because they felt that they could come and speak to me and release whatever it is, even though we were in a corporate setup. Yeah. And the reason I mention that is because I think I could identify where those broken people, but I had a way, and I have a way to deal with that without necessarily confronting people that you're broken, because I don't think we should do that. But I think we can help people, but also spotlight that perhaps this is not how this can be done, but hey, this is how it should be done. And I felt like I was at my element when people would come and talk to me, because one, it means that they trust me with their life stories. They trust me with their vulnerability, and I don't take that for granted. And I think more people should be vulnerable to their emotions, because if you are vulnerable in the moment and what you feel, you are able to attend to what is happening so that you can heal and move on and be the better version of yourself.
What's the alternative to not being vulnerable? What do other people do?
they close out. They close out and they create a persona that is like, what do they call it? You know, when you're not psychologically, when you feel like you're not psychologically safe,
Yeah.
you close, you just closed off, and you're holding your breath, and you hold your breath, and you hold your breath, and things miss you, life miss you, misses you in the process, opportunities miss you because you are holding your breath. You're not in the moment, just sitting on it,
You're closed off.
closed off.
There's something you say to me, and I want us to pick up on that. Moving from your story, you said people with a low self-esteem will never achieve their potential.
For sure, for sure. And, you know, this can be a little bit controversial, but I do believe that, so I'm a woman and I'm going to speak from the perspective of women.
Yeah,
Because I think that's the best. I've never been a man.
it's
You know
okay.
what I mean? So I think I'd like to speak from that perspective. And I see a lot of, whether it's young, whether it's a bit older, successful women. I'll speak about successful women because we aspire to be successful. There is a huge difference between someone who knows themselves, who understands themselves, and who is just comfortable in who they are, but also understands what they are good at and what they bring and the value and the impact they bring in the room, right? So people are very strong in their conviction. There's a quiet confidence about them. There's a very quiet calmness about them because, one, they don't have to prove a point. There's something about a confident person. You are good. You don't have to, convince Dando
Yeah.
that, oh, no, I'm this great person, I do A, B, and C, etc., etc. And the statement I made about self-esteem stems from that. Now, on the opposite end, people who try to compensate, try to, create a persona that others may deem as confident, there is something different about, the behavior that they exhibit in the ecosystem.
Okay.
And I think it translates to when you have low self-esteem, the behavior, the language, the body language, and just the entire tone that you carry is completely different.
Which person are you looking at? Between these two, someone who has a low self-esteem and pretending out there that they don't, or someone who has a low self-esteem to the point that we look and can see.
The first one, because they're the most dangerous.
Who explain?
So you'll find that in leadership, you have people who were succeeded to leadership one, maybe they were not ready. So they had to, fill up big shoes and, they're just winging it along the way. Some are able to come into the role in a graceful manner. There's something very profound about a leader who understands himself first and foremost, but also has a team where he's like, okay, this one and this one and this one, this is what my team is about, and this is how we come together as a team. And I will make sure that I amplify what they bring so that they can come and be the best versions of themselves. When we come together, we're a good team. There's something about then a leader who acts like they are confident, but actually is there to just push everyone down. So how dare a Siphosethu who's just like they're calm, coming in, doing what they do, and then they're like, no, ma'am. I will make sure that I'll frustrate you because how dare you come and look like you are better than me? And that's where the difference lies. And that's where the politics in the office begin. And that's where the toxicity then, starts to happen.
Okay. How are you handling situations like that when you saw them, when you're in the capacity of chief of staff? You say chief of staff. Sounds like a politician, but
No, trust me, it does exist in the corporate world, but I think it's nuanced based on which organization it is.
yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think the best experience I've had is that I've always had good leaders who have always supported me. So, geesh, for all my life, I've always had male leaders, and
They're
I mean,
important.
they're very important. Listen, I mean, like I love my female leaders, but I call it a blessing because I think there is a difference between female and male. There is a difference in how we lead. We are different and we should be embraced differently. So I've had the pleasure of being led by males and they've always supported me. So it's always the external that always came to me and almost, the friction happened, but it had never been my direct boss who's like, I'm going to be a toxic person to you right now. So for me, what's always helped is that I've always received good counsel because remember, your boss has walked the journey far,
Ahead.
ahead of you. So I've always received good counsel because, look, I mean, how old am I? There's a lot of things that I'm still yet to learn. There's a lot of things that I do know, but it's always good to have that person who is able to coach and direct you in how to do things. But I also think that one of the biggest things that we do underestimate is our own conviction in a moment, right? Our own intuition in a moment. What do you do when something horrible is happening? What does your intuition say? Because that's how you can establish if are you made for this leadership thing or not? Because at the end of the day, you have to respond. But I think it's important then to understand yourself, to understand the dynamic of where you are and treat it. I was listening to this other lady, she was CEO of PepsiCo. And I mean, she had a great success. I think you know the lady. And she was saying, everywhere you go, there will be politics, but you need to understand the politics, understand how you navigate through the politics, but do not take those things on because God forbid you then become part of that gang that gossips. Then, your life starts falling apart and you miss the mandate of what you're supposed to become. And you actually miss the opportunity to grow because you're too focused on things that don't matter. So to simplify and answer you, I've always had good counsel, but I also believe in myself and my own conviction and my own intuition because I do believe that I've got it. I've got it. I'm there for a reason.
Daddy told you.
Daddy told me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Let's look at from the moment Daddy told you.
Yeah.
If you look at your career, you say your trajectory from that moment was up and good. What did the process of developing yourself to be the independent woman you are now look like for you?
So I have a very interesting story. So when I started working, I hadn't completed my qualification.
Your life is a miracle. Yes. Whatever anointing
And
is there, share,
listen,
please.
and it can only be anointing and grace. So sometimes I don't even try to take all the glory because I'm just like, sometimes things are bigger than you. Things are bigger than you. It's just that you have just been picked and you will carry this purpose. Remember, before we were formed, there has been a whole set life ahead of you and you will walk that journey. And there are things that will be placed. And that's why I was telling you, I just got my second qualification yesterday. And people will comment and celebrate and be like, oh, you're so lucky. And you think to yourself, I am not lucky. I am not lucky.
I worked with this.
I've worked for it, damn straight I have, but also it my life has been set up the way that it is going because it has to go like this. Because there are things that I have to pursue in this direction, whether it's to touch the lives of others, whether it is to fix my family, whether it's to ensure that whatever previous things that had happened in my generation, if Siphosethu is the one to be like, this is where I stand, and this is the new trajectory that's being set for this family, perhaps that is why I'm on this earth. And if that is in the context of work, whatever it is, wherever we are, I do believe that it has been grace that has located me everywhere I've been.
I struggle with something there. And not to say you're wrong, you're right, and your life story says you're right. You are a walking miracle. When I listen to someone like you, I default to thinking of someone else who is in a different set of circumstances.
For sure.
And they say grace has not located
Locating
me.
me. And
Bad
that's a
things have located
for
me.
sure.
I've gone to dangerous places, gotten abused. It's like if I look back at my life, grace did not locate me. All the bad things that could have located
That has
seem to
happened.
find a way to locate me instead. And when you say, I look at my life and it was supposed to go like this, it was planned, it makes sense and it's beautiful when it works.
Out.
Yeah. But for someone who says I'm 40 and I've seen problems all my life, I've seen abuse all my life,
For sure.
up to this moment, I think they would struggle to process the fact that you saying it was supposed to be like that.
For sure. I'll
Do you
ask.
get me? I wrestle with that part.
I fully understand, and it's valid because other people's lives are not so great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll hear people say, "I've done everything right, but things just don't work out for me." The one question I have, and maybe this is me being biased, but do you believe that? And I guess this is if you believe in this or not, that we are led by a spiritual compass. Because I come from that place. And the reason I tell you this or I ask you this is because, and I don't want to mention her, but my older sister, because she's, I don't know, she has an interesting story, an interesting life story, right? And it's up until recently, she's almost 10 years older than me. Up until recently that she's finally answering a call that has always been playing and ringing in her ears. And she knows that that has always been what she was supposed to do because her life had always been set like that. And the reason I spotlight that is because perhaps this is an exaggerated example or whatever the case is. Some people are not spiritual, therefore they can't then relate to that. But I do believe that there is no single human being on this earth that was created to come and suffer. I honestly believe that. I think where things start to take a dip is when we are not able to listen to who we are and what we are supposed to be doing. We find a partner that is abusive, right? And abusive behavior comes out in the very early stages. I've met a couple of men who are abusive, but you can see the red flags in the very early stages because people can't hide who they are. But because I believe in myself and I know who I am supposed to be and I know what I cannot stand for, I will not stay in a 10-year-old relationship and be beaten for the next 10 years and then on the 10th year cry that, OMG, my life is going left. Understand what I mean?
I get you.
Do you understand?
No, I do. I'm following.
Yeah.
So I think it will help someone to process it in that way. I'm trying to think if someone is not spiritual, how do you still help them when they've gone through all the tough things that life can throw at you?
You see, you've thrown in a really, really, really hard curveball into the conversation because sometimes we really do look at life in the perspective of how we've traveled life.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of a young girl who probably comes from a rural setup.
And there are many.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to respond because, I wish you could understand from the core of my heart how this whole thing of believing in self is important because everything is rooted in that. Again, I'll speak about my mom. So my mom is my biggest role model because I think she's just so fabulous. My mom came from deep rural. There was 8 of them at home. poverty stricken. Dad had to go work in the mines, the typical black story.
Yeah.
At some point, she was telling us that, we used to grow up and I'd sleep under a table. There was no blanket. So it was really tough. The odds really were just against her
Yeah.
and her sisters and her brothers. But my mom says to me, one thing I can tell you in growing up, I had a voice in me and I was like, I'm going to get out of here. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here, but I am going to get out of here. Then her first job was being a domestic worker, right? In Cape Town. So she went and lived in, again, rural area, Eastern Cape. She went and lived in the informal settlements in Cape Town. That takes a lot of bravery. Again, that speaks to what you think you're capable of. But at the end of the day, you have a goal. So I asked her, what did you think you were supposed to be when you grew up? She's like, I've always known that I am here to help people in this world. And I wanted to be a nurse. And I'm like, okay, that is fantastic. So again, you need to understand who you are, and you can understand who you are even as little as a 3-year-old. I have a 4-year-old. That girl is very confident and she knows her story, right? But I guess the dynamic also comes into play, what type of family setup you come from. Then she,
Yeah.
got this domestic job, etc. And then she says, look, I don't know how or what happened, but through whatever relationships that she began to create, she found herself at Lilita Nursing College in 1989, right? In the Eastern Cape. She left the domestic job. She went there, then met my dad. Then there was that. So typically my dad was the man who would take care of home. So she says back in the day, you could be a nurse that's not necessarily fully qualified. So it's like an assistant nurse or something to that effect. And she was comfortable with that because, husband is taking care of everything. But there's all these other things happening in the background. And then eventually when they did divorce, my mom divorced when she was 14.
40.
40.
Okay.
40.
Yeah.
Do you know what my mom did?
Uh,
She went back to school. She went back to matric.
what?
Yes. Do you know how many qualifications my mom has now? She's got 4 degrees, with the last one having been conferred in 2019 as a midwife. And she was my midwife when I was pregnant.
What?
And that for me really is a story of, it was tough growing up, but I had a voice in me that believed in myself before anybody else could believe in myself. Even though I had a marriage that was so tough and I probably didn't see anything beyond it. But at the last hour, I was like, I will pick myself up with all these children that I have to take care of, but I will start at the beginning and pursue my dream because it can happen.
Divorce, then go back to matric.
Yes.
High school.
Yes.
At 40.
Yes.
With kids.
Yes. Without the husband's contribution anymore.
That's a fighter.
Exactly.
Many people would be destroyed by a situation
For
like
sure.
that. Many people would not think to go back,
sure.
especially go back as far as high school,
sure.
because
For sure.
you would want to look for the easiest qualification
For
that
sure.
can get you the income
For
quickly.
sure. For sure. And I'll share a story that, happened to me last year. One day I woke up and I was without a job. I was retrenched.
Oh, that's happened to you. So not everything is a miracle.
There's a lot of things that have happened to me. There's a lot that's happened to me. But I think as a person, you just really, you just like, you have a choice. You let this thing, you fold into this problem, or you just, persevere and be like, okay, we need to think, how do we get out of it? I was retrenched at the end of Feb.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I want to actually probably emphasize on is the importance of social capital, and how people probably, maybe some don't, underestimate the power of social networks and social capital, the friends we have, the rooms that we go into, how that actually opens up opportunity. Because if I need somebody and I speak to Ntando who I trust, and Ntando recommends somebody, or we talk about a business, this and that, it's so much easier to trust what you come with as opposed to a stranger or whatever the case is.
True.
So that happens to me. I'm without a job. Literally, I was sitting like this with my boss after we had been, in that big meeting,
Yeah.
and I cried my lungs out. I cried, and that was the last time I cried. That was the last time I cried, because I was like, okay, you have exhaled, you have taken out all the bad energy. Now we have to plan, how do we move forward? Let me tell you, I was able to get a job a month and a half after that.
Because of your social capital.
Exactly. And because I was like, if I'm going to sit, be at home, cry every day, I am not going to come out of this. That is not going to help anybody.
Hey, so now mommy taught you a lot. You fight in life.
No, mommy is a fighter.
You moved on from dad's words and the quote to be independent and be the best version of yourself.
sure.
I still want to get your mindset around how you developed yourself to be so confident. If you're looking at your journey, what were you doing from that time as you go to develop yourself?
So when I was 23, I met this gentleman who then became my boss. Because back end story actually to how I became confident. So growing up, I was very bubbly, very lively. I had a big personality. I was first in class. I was, a Stedford. I used to be a solo singer. I used to play the instruments. Like, I was just that child, right? I had a personality, and a big one. And I was involved, charismatic, this, and that. Then high school hit, and I guess a big part of it was influenced by everything else that was happening in my life. But I think you don't realize it when you're a child. But I guess in hindsight, you reflect and you're like, oof, maybe those things were impacting you, because then the personality changed drastically. I became a very withdrawn child. My marks dropped. I had no aspirations. Can you imagine? I literally had no aspirations. And I would lean on people to tell me what to do, what to say. And I had no confidence in who I was.
Okay, that's a big shift.
It was such a dark time, because I remember there would be, like, the grade reports, and if you had received anything less than 40%, the class teacher would literally draw the subject in a red pen, right? And I would have no emotion toward that,
From being a grade student.
and no emotion. And at the time, mom was in Cape Town. I was sort of like the the child that took care of the other children.
Okay.
So I think, again, that was probably my first introduction to real leadership, because you don't have an option. You have to take care of everybody else whilst you also are a child.
Yeah.
And I won't, and I like to convert into a good story, because that was introduction to leadership. If you need to make sure that the lights are on, everyone else is eating. I learned how to cook when I was 10. So I could feed the kids, make sure that everyone, so it was my little sister. She's 7 years younger than me. It was my nephew. He was literally like a year old. And then it was the housekeeper. But the housekeeper will always lean on someone in the home to ensure that things are okay. When clothes need to be bought, I have to go with my friend. We go to Ackermans, we buy, and then I'm like, okay, the sizes should be fine. Come back, fit the kids on, everything's good. When we have to travel to Cape Town, I have to go buy the bus ticket, you know what I mean? Travel with the kids, make sure they're fed on the way. All of those things are symptoms, or I guess,
Leadership.
leadership styles. They're slowly shaping you. You may, as the child, feel it is unfair, Perhaps it was. I was only 14, right? But I do believe that that's where all of this started, and the confidence then probably got lost, but then later on got rebuilt. Then I get to varsity, and I've got these friends, and I was studying a course that was different from everybody else. And I remember this one friend of mine who said, "You know that you'll never work anywhere with this qualification."
Ha! What qualification was it?
And I remember it's public management and governance,
Why were they saying that?
because apparently they had reference to somebody else who had studied it and they were never successful. It's a story you just mentioned now. Our lives not being the same.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, that hit me. And I think in recent years, I can tell that story without crying, because I remember back then, I felt so small. I felt so small and so undermined. And I think there's nothing that hits a human being than being undermined, and that public humiliation happening in front of everybody. Right? Because, in the group of friends, yeah, you just this one with this silly qualification, but shame you are here with us, right? But you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, what on earth? All right. And yeah, I think
So they were speaking to not confident version of you at the time, right? Not your confidence hadn't
it had
come back.
exactly, it had crippled. And then I picked myself up again when I met, Sia, when I was 23. That man believed in me before I even believed in myself. We were literally sitting in a boardroom. I was doing VAC work for 2 weeks. I was data capturing at Vodacom in East London. And there was this wonderful lady, Sis Akona, who I believe as well was a great contributor of being my greatest sponsor, because she believed in me before I believed in myself. And I think those that do have the power in leadership, the power in whatever communities they exist, they should believe in somebody, because they don't understand how that can help them build themselves or rebuild themselves. And from then on, it shot up.
So it's sponsors and people that came into your life that built you because they believed in you
Absolutely. And
until
reminded me
you
that
caught up.
exactly. Because I do not believe that there was an absence of belief. It's just that at the time it wasn't nourished.
So when you say people with a low self-esteem will never achieve their full potential, you've seen what it's like
Exactly.
for you to walk into
Exactly.
boardrooms with a higher
Exactly.
self-esteem.
Exactly. And the difference between the two.
How are you teaching your daughter? Because you say she's 4 and super confident. What have you done?
So there's actually an interesting story with my daughter. So my daughter is fairly light, right? Like you'd say, her dad is a white person, right? She's beautiful. Like I'll show you a picture of her. Like,
Doesn't every parent say that though?
no, but you gotta see her. And now, then growing up, she growing up naturally, and you can't control this because this is society. They call her white person. And I don't like that, right? So there's two things I've had to do intentionally, because she can easily become overly confident. And there's a thin line between that and arrogance,
Yeah.
right? And I've had to, one, regulate her to say, people calling you this is not right, because you should be proud with who you are, right? Number two, you are a beautiful young woman. You are great. Like I tell my daughter that a lot. You're smart and all those things. And she's stepped into that. But I said, be conscious when people want to give you pretty privilege just because you are pretty, but understand that there is more to you than what is on the outside. Then I started teaching her, as she starts, getting, more conscious of her surroundings, to say, if someone calls you this, politely tell them you are not this. This is not your name. Your name is this.
And she's doing that.
Oh, fantastic. That one. Oh. Listen, if she was here, she would actually hold this conversation down.
We'll test that one day. Last question on my side. Not a question actually. I think, can you speak to someone who did not get the closure you got with dad passing away, who did not get the kind, empowering words that you got early on? All they have when they think about their father or their mother is maybe a memory of trauma.
Yeah.
They haven't healed.
Yeah. So, firstly, I think a trauma is a real thing, because I think sometimes we underestimate how real trauma is and how it affects our lives, how we the makeup of who we are, and how how we just engage with life as it's in its entirety. So I think the first thing is understanding that you have been through a traumatic situation. Acknowledge that, because when you do not acknowledge anything, you cannot then identify the problem. So identify what it is that you think is making you feel the hurt, because then you can identify where to go and get help for the hurt, right? And sometimes we like to complicate things, but even our friends can be that safe space where we are just honest with the feelings and the hurt and the pain that we carry. So I think also safe spaces are important, but how you identify or define a safe space is entirely up to you. You have that, you have control over that. I know some people do not like the whole psychotherapy route, but there's many, many, many ways to deal with trauma, to deal with pain in other forms of therapy. And I think people need to understand themselves again. Understand who you are, understand Siphosethu, understand what makes you happy, understand what makes you unhappy, but understand the pains and the traumas that you have actually gone through, but also then identify what are the things actually when I do release things. What are the things when, like, I know when, like, what are the things that make me cry easily? And when I want to release pain, those are the places I go to. Because when I feel like I am going to literally have a heart attack, I need to release a lot, I go and open those doors.
Thank you so much. This will help someone.
I hope so.
You will touch someone out there. Do you have anything that we should look forward to next year? Bugnyana,
Bontando.
going on a movie
The
somewhere.
confidence you're having me is...
I'm joining the party. It looks like I'm not the only one, so might as well.
So look, I mean, I have so many aspirations. One of them is actually having a podcast, and I'm putting it out there in the universe. I recently started moderating, and I really want that to grow bigger and better, because I think our voices and our experiences can touch so many lives, and whatever the stage is, it doesn't matter if the audience for that time is that. Speak the story, but make sure that it lands in the way that can be impactful. Yeah.
Okay. You put it out there. We'll be waiting and hold you accountable. Thank you for joining us till this time. Let us know what you think. Drop some love in the comments for Siphosethu.
Please.
She wanted to share the miracle of her story, what she's learned in the journey, and she warned me that I don't want to talk about corporate stuff.
No.
We were safe from corporate stuff, right?
No, we were. I mean, I deal with strategy every day. Can I just be myself? No.
And change your life. See you in the next episode.
Thank you.